Welcome all. In this video, we are going to talk about piping engineering course on piping activities, deliverables and non-deliverables. Let us discuss what are the various sections which have been covered in this course and why we should enroll to this course. So first of all, these are all recorded sessions and you will be getting the full flexibility with respect to time and location. In the starting, we'll talk about various piping engineering sections. Then we look into the broad categories of deliverables and non-deliverables. Then each and every section of piping engineering will talk about all the deliverables and non-deliverables in detail. Once we know what are the various deliverables and non-deliverables of piping engineering, then it will be very easy to understand the man-hour estimation. So these are again few things which we are going to cover here. Basic thumb rules when we have very less information, and during detail estimation also what are the basic criteria to decide the man-hour estimations. Then we'll look into various critical process deliverables. We'll talk about this because process is a very critical interface for all the discipline, especially for piping. So we'll try to understand what these deliverables are all about. Then basis of design. This is the basic document for any design activity. So this is also been covered here. We'll talk about what is design basis, why it is so important, what are the various sections in design basis, general requirements, philosophies, stress analysis design requirements, material and entity requirements. So what are the basic things we cover in a design basis that will be covered here. Then layout development. Under layout development, we are going to cover this section into 4 parts. First, we'll talk about the overall plot plan. Sometimes we call it site plan. Then second section, we'll talk about the unit plot plan. Then basic guidelines and standards. So these 4 sections will be covered under layout development. Here we'll talk about the basic definitions, why it is required, what are the various stages, what are the various inputs required, right, and why we require this document, how other disciplines are going to use this deliverable. Similarly, we'll talk about these points under unit plot plan section also. Then any plot plan or unit plot plan will be having columns, furnaces, compressors, pumps, exchangers, column, drums, pipe rack. All these things will be there in any of the unit plot plan or overall plot plan. So once we know what are the various guidelines associated with these items, then we can implement in any of these for any of the plants. So we'll try to look at the engineering aspects while discussing all these things. Again, the standards we cannot forget. We need to look into various clauses from various standards. So we'll talk about few of the important clauses for OSD and NFPA so that we can implement. So this is how we are going to cover the layout section. In next part, we are going to cover the material takeoff. Material is one of the costliest item in any of the project, and most of the cost revolves around material. So we'll look into various things. For example, the definition and scope of work, various documents required, basic requirements to carry out this activity. Then material stages. Throughout the project life cycle, we have to go through various stages. So we are going to cover these details in this section. Guidelines and checkpoints. To carry out this activity, we have to follow a lot of guidelines and there should be a lot of checkpoints. We are going to cover all these things in this section. Another one is nozzle orientation. Nozzle orientation is again one of the deliverables. We'll look into various aspects. For example, what is nozzle orientation? What are the disciplines involved to carry out this deliverable? Then to understand the basics, we'll take an example of column. Okay, we will look into various types of nozzles, whether it is a manhole, feed nozzle, reboiler connection, top and bottom nozzle, instrument connection, ladders and platform, and we'll look into each and every criteria how we fix this so that we can implement these learnings into any of the projects to develop the nozzle orientation. Then we are going to cover the 3D model specification. This is again one of the basic document which we develop at the very initial stage of the project, where we define what is 3D model and what kind of software we are going to use, and what are various objectives, what we are going to get out of this, and for various disciplines what are the various items we are going to model in 3D model. So this specification which is developed at the initial stage of the project, it talks about various requirements with respect to 3D model. In next section, we'll talk about the 3D model reviews. Reviews are really very important for any project. So in this section, we are going to cover what is the purpose and objective behind these reviews, who are the teams which are involved at various stages, execution procedure, purpose and agenda of all 30, 60, 90% model reviews, scope metrics with respect to each and every discipline, where we'll define what shall be covered during these model reviews. So this is how we are going to cover this section. In next part, where we are going to cover the painting specification, we'll look into various aspects so that we can understand various requirements. We'll take a few general examples also. Surface and materials, painting standards, surface cleaning methods, okay, the paint general requirements, paint material type. So this is how we are going to cover this section. Under insulation, again we are going to cover the purpose of insulation, what are the various items where insulation is not required, selection parameters, common insulation materials, insulation pictures will cover so that we can visualize how this looks like and how we carry out the things. Then insulation cladding along with few of the pictures so that we can visualize again. Then we'll take one example where we'll look into the thickness charts so that we can interrelate the thickness versus temperature and various applications. So this is how we are going to cover this section. General arrangement drawings. Again, this is a very important deliverable from piping side. Here in this section, we are going to cover the definition, the purpose of generating these GAs, various scale requirements, stages of issue, input document which shall be required to carry out this deliverable. Then various checkpoints. When we are generating these GAs, we have to check many things. So we'll list out a few of the critical things so that we can understand how we are going to check these general arrangement drawings once these are extracted from the system. Then isometrics. Isometric is again one of the very critical deliverable from piping side. This contains each and everything with respect to the design activities. This is one of those deliverables which will be carried out, which will be used at site to carry out various critical activities at site. So we'll look into the definition, the purpose of these isometrics, various stages of ISO issue, documents which will be required to generate this deliverable. Then we look into the various checkpoints with respect to PIN-ID, layout, MTO, stress, and drafting. So this is how we are going to cover this section. So this is all about this piping activity deliverable and non-deliverable course. I'm sure this is going to be a very good course, and I would really recommend to all of the piping engineering people, so that they can at least learn few things, and if they already know many of the things, then they can refresh. And in the end, this will be lifetime access, and this will be kind of record for everybody. So good luck, and I hope you enjoy this course.